In 2025, we are the most digitally connected humans in history. Yet we are also living through a surge in loneliness so significant that public health bodies now rank it alongside smoking and obesity as a primary threat to life expectancy. There is a vital psychological distinction between solitude and loneliness. Solitude is a restorative, chosen state of being alone. Loneliness is the distress caused by a gap between the intimacy you want and the connection you actually have, a gap often hidden behind a performative digital life. To fill that void, many young adults turn to the wellness industry, adopting exercise as a new spiritual practice. These spin classes and boot camps became ritualistic routines, providing the collective effervescence and physical belonging that many no longer found in traditional institutions. This evolved into a secular substitute called therapeutic deism, where God is a distant figure who simply wants you to be happy. But this new religion brought its own weight, demanding a perfect political wokeness and using the threat of cancel culture to enforce its standards. These secular routines eventually reach a breaking point. They offer no framework for human suffering and replace the concept of grace with a set of unforgiving, performative metrics that leave the spirit exhausted. For decades, every data point suggested that religion in the West was in a terminal decline. But recent reports from YouGov and the Bible Society show a sudden, sharp reversal. After 40 years of dropping, religious belief among young adults is ticking upward, driven by Gen Z. In the UK, 18 to 24-year-olds believing in God nearly tripled since 2021, reaching 45%. They are instead seeking out the most demanding and historically rigid forms of faith, from traditional Catholicism to high-commitment Pentecostalism. The generation famous for rejecting institutions and rules is now the group most likely to be found inside a church, seeking out the very traditions their parents abandoned. For 2 centuries, cultural movements stripped the historic figure of Jesus of his radical elements to create a safe, palatable wellness guru. This harmless caricature became so unthreatening that even dictators have invoked his name to shield their own reputations. This generation is looking past that safe image towards deep Christianity. They are searching for the historical Jesus, a figure who didn't offer self-help tips, but instead demanded a radical, total transformation of the self. Jesus introduced what scholars call novums, ideas that were entirely new to his world. His most disruptive teaching was that true purity has nothing to do with outward performative actions. It requires a radical change at the very core of a person's existence. Following the historical trauma of the 20th century, many theologians tried to soften these edges to make Christianity more continuous with the surrounding culture. In an attempt to be inclusive, they inadvertently watered down the unique, difficult demands of the faith. The historical Jesus offered no such comfort to the status quo. He was a disruptive presence who rejected the performative purity of the elites while choosing to directly engage with the outcasts and the broken. Modern internet culture demands absolute perfection, often ending a career or a reputation over a single mistake. The historic church, however, begins with the structural assumption that every human being is inherently broken. Orthodox doctrine provides a theology of suffering. Rather than telling a person to suppress their pain or hide it behind a filter, it offers a framework to stand on when life becomes dark. This framework is built on the concept of unmerited grace. It is a form of total forgiveness that isn't earned through better performance, an anchor that algorithmically driven spirituality cannot provide. This understanding of mercy has always resonated with storytellers and outcasts. Even secular writers like Rod Serling instinctively grasps that the essence of this message is found in unmerited compassion, regardless of a person's past. For a generation raised on the fluidity of social media, the rigidity of these ancient doctrines offers something rare, a structural anchor that remains fixed even when the world changes. Leaving the digital algorithm for the physical architecture of a church places you in a third space. For those reporting high levels of isolation, these buildings provide a rare opportunity for human interaction that isn't mediated or filtered by a screen. This return to community is being supported by a shift in the legal landscape. Recent Supreme Court victories have reinforced the right to religious expression, encouraging a generation to be more open about their faith in public parks, schools, and workplaces. This combination of real-world community and a new legal confidence is visible enough that some sociologists are reaching back to historical precedents, suggesting this could be the start of another era of widespread religious awakening. We live in an age where every product, social seed, and truth is algorithmically tailored for maximum personal convenience and minimal friction. But in a world of frictionless convenience, customized, shallow spirituality holds very little weight. It lacks the structural integrity needed to anchor a life against the persistent weight of isolation. Submitting to a demanding, historically rigid faith has become a form of structural rebellion. It is a choice to prioritize ancient, difficult truths over the isolation of the modern world. The loneliest generation in history didn't want a faith made easier. They needed a cure demanding enough to provide true meaning and real enough to require each other.